All right, we are continuing our Senate runoff election night coverage on the ATL tonight. Our political analyst joining us all night long. We appreciate you all for that. State Representative Eric Allen, Republican strategist Cody Hall, and 11 Alive's year-round political analyst Andra Gillespie. They're all here tonight giving their perspective. One thing we want to start off with, we're seeing some interesting numbers on the map, specifically with the numbers in the 100% precincts reporting compared to where they were at last time. So Andra, I want to get your take on this. There was one county where the numbers are pretty similar for Warnock. He maybe lost 5 votes. But Herschel Walker losing hundreds. What does that mean?
Well, part of it's the proportionality. So these are South Georgia counties that have small populations, but where Walker's winning by huge margins. And so part of that is proportionality, but it must be troubling for the Walker campaign to see this type of erosion where it's not in the trickles of the way it looks for the Warnock campaign, but it looks like, he's losing dozens or maybe hundreds of votes. Cumulatively, that could end up posing a problem for him sort of as we see more votes come in.
Cody, do you think that spells trouble for the Republican Party, or is it too early to tell still?
Yeah, I mean, it's concerning. I think to offset that, the Walker campaign has to hope that there's thousands of vote drop-off in Fulton, DeKalb, Gwinnett for Warnock. But yeah, I think especially with those South Georgia numbers, you needed a strong turnout there to potentially offset any lack of turnout in Metro Atlanta, and so those early numbers are concerning.
And Eric, does this surprise you at this point in the election, seeing that difference in numbers for Walker?
It does. I was expecting some attrition, some drop off, but not that much. And also where you have Warnock holding in most of these counties, I think that's where it becomes troubling, is where the attrition is not equal. If all things were equal, I think it would be a little bit different scenario, but right now it looks very promising for the Warnock campaign. And
staying with you, Eric, is there anything else you're seeing with these numbers that we have coming in right now that is surprising you for this election, or that is not surprising you, that you totally expected to see?
No, I think it's what I expected. I mean, you look at counties like Cobb where the numbers are coming in and Walker's just not able to keep pace with where Kemp was in the general election. That's indicative of not only the 200,000 vote deficit he had in the general, but also just the way you've seen some Republicans, even the lieutenant governor, expressing just couldn't go out and vote, couldn't make that choice. And I think that's what's being reflected in the numbers.
Andra, if you were to make a prediction at this moment right now, would you have a solid prediction?
I do, but I still want to keep it close to the chest. I will say that, I expect that the margin is going to be within 5. It may be closer to 5 than 1. I think that a lot of people felt that the momentum was behind Raphael Warnock. These numbers don't dissuade us from that particular point of view, but I still want to wait to see what the other numbers look like, and I want to see more color on that board before I would feel more confident in saying that.
And Cody, I want to ask you the same thing as well. Do you think that this is any indication that Walker is out of this and Warnock's going to run away with it?
No, I think we need to see some turnout from Metro Atlanta counties. The one thing I would say that was surprising to me was how many votes we had so early, especially from Fulton was able to report some early vote very quickly. I would obviously attribute that to SB 202, the Elections Integrity Act that we passed that was allowed those counties to tabulate those votes early. So hopefully we continue to see that. We're not here till early hours in the morning waiting on a result.
Yeah, your 10-15 prediction. I'm crossing that. I think everyone's crossing their fingers to that.
Look, I put a number out there. We'll see.
And Cody, I want to continue with one question too as well. When we talk about early voting, they tend to lean Democrat. And then we had rain today. Rain is typically a deterrent. It wasn't downpour, but do you think that could play a role in the results that we see today?
I think it's hard to predict, but what I would say is, especially in terms of runoffs, you're counting on your most fervent supporters, your Republicans that have voted in 4 of the last 4 Republican primaries to get out and vote. Those folks, they'll crawl across broken glass to go vote. It doesn't matter if there's a little bit of a drizzle, they'll turn out to the polls. So hopefully that continues.
Well, if I can add something
Please
here.
do.
There have been studies that have been done on whether or not rain has an impact on voter turnout. And yes, the heavier it rains or snows, that does have the possibility of reducing voter turnout. But that's mitigated by the fact that we have early voting. So yes, it rained in some places today. But 1, it wasn't yesterday. And then 2, people had a chance to vote earlier. And so spreading out the vote across many days actually ends up diffusing the negative impacts of rain on voter turnout.
But does it matter? Maybe voter turnout, but we know those early voters tend to be Democrats. So does that affect the race in that sense? Because we should then, by that adage, expect to see fewer Republicans voting.
So the original study sort of about rain actually said that Democrats were the ones that were going to be more likely to be hurt by lower voter turnout because of rain. And so in this
on election day,
on election day. So, in this particular instance, I think we would have to revisit that study kind of post 2020, where we've seen different partisan differences in voting patterns with early in election day voting. But I think in general, the fact that Democrats and Republicans had the opportunity to go vote earlier in the week probably didn't end up dissuading some people from turning out to vote on election day in the ways that it might have in previous years where you only had one day to vote.
Right. Final question. I know, Andre, you're keeping your decision close to your vest. Either of you have any predictions of what we're going to see at the end of the night?
If the trend holds the way the map looks right now, I think it's going to be earlier than 10:15. I may say even 10 o'clock. We'll go too far earlier, but I think it's going to be very telling as more numbers come in. If the map continues to look like that, it's going to be a little bit earlier than I thought.
All right.
Nothing to disagree with Eric over here, so we'll see.
All right. Well, thank you all for your input. We're going to keep you here, probably past 10:15, but we'll see, and we'll have more from this after this.